Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have someone who is an author, inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, and sexual abuse advocate. She's the author of the newly released memoir, Under the Orange Blossoms. Cindy Benezra, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. What a privilege.
Happy to have you here as well, Cindy. Happy to have you as well. And I know you've got a great story and message to send out there based on your own experience as well. We all face all kinds of abuse. I've got to say that I've had some abuse. And with the psychological impacts of everything that happens in life with us and overcoming obstacles and everything. I'd like you to share your story and obviously lead us up to the book and tell us more about your book once you shared your story.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I just want to say that, no one is exempt from trauma or heartaches. We all suffer. And my story is growing up in middle America, and my father is a pedophile. And what it was like to grow up with a pedophile and my challenges through that. So my abuse started from 5 to 10, basically when you formulate a lot of who you are in this world. And I actually grew up thinking that my life later on, I kind of had PTSD, and I really kind of dissociated what had happened in my life until I became sexually active. And that was just about 17. And then I realized what had happened to me, and it came in the form of dreams, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And in that, I started writing down these crazy, insane dreams that I felt like I was going crazy. And through these dreams, I pieced all these shattered segments of these dreams. And that's where I formulated this idea through my journals of writing about Under the Orange Blossoms. And the part of Under the Orange Blossoms is what I would run to. I lived in rural Arizona in the orchards, a lot of farming community, and I would run away because I thought I was absolutely going crazy. But I had suffered physical abuse, so I would remember, that's the part that I remember, and I would run away to. So I felt that a lot of the adults in my life had betrayed me, and I would go to the orange blossoms or trees and look at them the way they had grown. And I found that I could trust nature more than I could human beings. Mm-hmm. And in that, I felt that they had a purpose. They had a reason for existence. And I was trying to find my purpose. And I would look at examples at those trees, smell the beauty of them, watch the fruit of them. And that was my sanctuary. And unfortunately, I'm 60. And unfortunately, during that time, there wasn't laws in place to help people who had been there wasn't even a sexual abuse. There wasn't even a sexual abuse kit, which just tells you how old and how far we've come in a short time. But it was a tragic time, and still people fall through the cracks, and it's an obstacle still to share what happens behind closed doors. And I think a lot of people are raised in concepts of what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. I think that's kind of like a little mantra that our parents have told us, what happens in this household stays here, and it's not for anybody else to share. And unfortunately, I was terrified if I did share that I would cease to exist. And my mother, being a product of the 70s, my father used a lot of psychological things that brought fear in my life. And one was my mother did not believe that she was able to financially carry on and support herself with 2 children. So I was afraid of that. And also the shame of having, quote, way back then, it just tells you a lot about that. My dad being a jailbird. He goes, you wouldn't want your father to be a jailbird now, would you?
Yeah. Oh,
And
so he
so
was a convicted paedophile.
no, he
Oh.
was not.
Oh, well, you
So
mean the jailbird as in he's going
yes,
to go to
that was his
jail because he's going
threat.
after
Yes.
young, yeah, girls and
Mhm.
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of shame in that. And then so anyway, that's how what my story is, and it's my view through the eyes of a 16-year-old. And it was how I unfold a little bit. Have always tried to protect my audience because I tried to find a way through this. And I lived overseas growing up. I lived in Iran and
Oh,
Spain
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and Austria,
Oh, so you
and
know
so
Europe then. You know these parts of the world.
all over.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who to turn to. And so being in foreign languages, it's not like you could just go and find the local library. First
Yeah.
of all, it's miles to get there, or I didn't know the transportation system. I couldn't really share this with my parents, or I still had a lot of shame about this. So how does one get through this? And that was my journey. And basically what ended up, I started to think about suicide, contemplated suicide, because I couldn't live with the reality
Mm,
of this horrid dark secret that I had unfolded,
yeah.
and how I didn't want to live. I just wanted the pain to end. And so I didn't really want to die, but I just wanted the pain to end. And that's all I could think about was jumping from the fourth from my
Yeah.
window
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
was living in Spain.
Oh,
And
this is
actually,
when you was an adult on your own.
yes, of
Yeah.
course. I was just about 17, and I thought, well, and I had confronted my father, and my mother said, well, why would you say these horrible things about our family? And I thought, oh, I am on my own. Like, I am truly on my own. So I tried to find ways of staying and existing in this world. And then the other one was I challenged myself on how to find healing since I couldn't find resources. And that was another reason why I wrote this book.
Right.
I used to find books and then wrap them up in paper so that no one could see what I was reading, and because it was embarrassing.
Mm.
And I felt that I was the only person in the entire world that had gone through this. And then as the years unfolded, I realized that there were, well, here in America, it's 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys. And those are reported cases. So it's basically
What
epidemic
go through abuse?
that go through sexual abuse. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Outstanding. I mean, and it
Mm.
really is. And I understand that we all have secrets that we want to keep. We don't want to break up our families.
Mm.
There's ties that we have with aunts and uncles. It's not just about us. There's a
Yeah.
lot of fear in that.
Yeah.
And but what I have found interesting, so now I'm older, and I'm an event planner with my daughter. And when we're at events, I find it fascinating that men will come up to me and they'll say, hey, Cindy, wow, I really love what you're doing on social media. And it kind of takes me off guard because I'm like at an event, I'm in a cocktail dress, I'm holding a martini. I'm not expecting this.
Yeah.
And they'll say, hey, I really like what you're doing. And we'll talk, and he'll say, but this has happened to me. So I'm really glad that, you're talking about this, because what an unusual thing to talk about this. And I find that fascinating. I always ask, would you be willing to talk about this? And they're like, no, this has changed my life. My wife doesn't know. My partner doesn't know.
Sorry, this is you saying it, or people coming to you talking about it to you and saying that?
people coming to me
Yeah,
and
right. Okay.
witnessing
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And when I realize that when they come to me, and this is men in particular, they're like, absolutely
Mm,
not. I mean, there's so much
yeah.
shame here. I cannot talk about this. I have never shared this, or it's changed my sexuality. Then it's an affirmation to me that I have to continue to talk about this. And
Right.
that is what my blog is about. It's Cindy Talks. And I feel
Okay.
like being a squeaky wheel in this world. I don't have a solution
Mm-hmm.
for sexual assault or sexual abuse. I think a lot of our wheels that we have in place are broken. A lot of times children are removed from the household or put into foster care. And I don't really believe that that's the solution.
No.
And the reason why that, if you go to a therapist, they have to report. And I understand why this happens, but it's a broken system. So I'm just hoping that I would find the right people to collaborate and maybe come up with a solution in trying to help all of us, because we're worth saving as human souls. We're worth savings because this is generational. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just stop with us if we decide to voice it. It goes on through the generations. And it's unfortunate. It's a historical thing. It's and it still goes on, and it's tragic.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's absolutely tragic.
No, yeah, no, absolutely right. And as I said, I've had some form of abuse during my childhood as well. So probably not
Right.
to the severity what you're talking about. But I've been through some psychological things. Some I can share with you, some maybe not. But more towards the end of my firefighting career, because obviously it took its toll with stress and everything else. So but
It
no, I
does.
totally agree with you that some men don't want to speak out, and I was one of those as well. So, but saying that, yeah, it's. I think there's cases with how we're talking together now. People,
Mhm.
the kids don't want to speak out about it. People are suffering in silence. Do you think that?
Absolutely. I
Mm,
hear when I listen to men, grown men, and then boys. I've had lots of boys come to me, young girls who carry such incredible shame, like they feel that they could never have a healthy relationship again. They
mm,
go into a little, I think young girls go into a little bit like, I'll never be healthy again, or I'm not even worthy of being loved. And when I hear that consistently in people, that they just, there's moments in life where they just think like, I don't even feel like I'm worthy of being loved. And I could recognize that. I empathize with that deep pain. And then, you have to stop yourself and kind of go, that's just silly talk. Like, of course I'm worthy of being loved, and I'm loving, and I can heal, and I could have a healthy relationship. I think those are the fallout of suffering any kind of dysfunction in your family, that a lot of us carry, but in different formats and different ways, be it drug addiction or um, anything that we carry weight and shame of, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, as I say, I can relate to you with the story you've just said, and obviously with yours, it's quite severe. Obviously, because your dad was an actual paedophile, as in, getting
Right,
jailbirds and and things like that. Well, so it wasn't
right.
that as strong as that. It was just more contained in the home, where I've probably got the most abused out of my brothers and sister, and physical and things like that.
Right.
But I don't want to go into that because this is your story, and we'll
No,
stick
but
with the
thank you
sexual
for,
abuse, which
yeah,
obviously sexual abuse as a young daughter from your own, you know, parents is really the probably the worst of all, isn't it? Really, as a child, Um, well, I wouldn't say worst of all, but it's confusing. And like you say, you're between. I've got a 7-year-old daughter now, actually, but I know at the age of 7, and I was 7, you start learning about what I know what I was like at 7, you know,
right, right.
and that's not something you want to experience between the age of 5 to 7, 10 before high school, isn't it? Really, that kind of thing.
No. I think it's interesting too. There's a statistic that a lot of times we kind of forget what happened in the past, but when you watch a child go through something, like say, for example, you were 7
Mm,
and you kind of reflect on your daughter and go, oh my gosh, she's so happy. And look
mm,
at her go. And then you pause for a moment and go, I remember what happened to me at 7. And this is not what, like, I look at my beautiful child. Um, and I had a completely different life. So then you get a time to reflect. And a lot of times that's, I mean, I know that's very, very common. Often women will have children and they'll completely have forgotten what had happened in their past. And then suddenly they recall what had happened and they kind of go through a crisis
mm,
and they're still unfolding it, or they may even leave the household to just try to figure out, what is going on with them internally. Um, I think that's from what I hear, it's pretty common. I had mine happen to be when I was younger, but I did reflect on my kids. I used to think of, because I have 4, and I looked at them and I thought, gosh, they're so happy, and I'm so glad that they have this.
mm.
But where, when you think about your life and your challenges, do you ever think about, I think there's a difference. Do you ever think about hurting them or treating them poorly like how you had, or it becomes a choice where you have to say, no, I'm not going to do this to
It's the
my,
opposite. Yeah, that's what I'm not going to have that life for my daughter now. That's what I'm,
right.
yeah,
It becomes a
the
choice.
opposite. But it could actually, because sometimes hurt people, so
Exactly.
and there's a called projection. But again, it's the opposite is I'm going to actually protect people. So that's why I'm anti-bullying. I got involved with that. Obviously, anti-racism, like you must obviously with anti-sexism and things like that as well. Um, so that's how I got into all that. And of course, sports saved my life really. I took up sports, and the thing is, that's where I started learning about other healthy things, and including that in the 90s was taking up things like meditation and getting in a zone for
Mhm.
psyching myself up before a race. I did track, by the way, and then I used that in firefighting, but it was more because I was getting some, it's a bullying culture really there. It's a male boys network, which obviously I could fit into some of that, but you go to a certain limit where you think, no, that's not right because of that thing that I had. So I spoke out about bullying, because it's the type of job where you see it, it's a bit like builders, that you're going to get wolf whistled at because it's that culture there, and a lot of ladies don't like that, do they, when they're walking along the street? It's not, it's not for everyone, it shouldn't be done anyway, in general. But so
Yeah.
so that was me, I did have the same thing as you. I was went out to live abroad in the Philippines. I was having nightmares, and I don't know if it's partly with the job, partly with the bullying and racism, and then it all accumulated. I stopped my sports, obviously, I retired basically, in your mid 30s. Did other things, and then it just all started catching up with me, and it was more post-traumatic symptoms and things like that. And I had a flashback of me jumping out my condo window as well. The same thing what you said, and that's why I thought, wow. And it scared me. And it weren't even me thinking about suicide. It was just like it was a film played back as and I was in it. That's how it felt.
Right.
Obviously, I went to get checked out and everything else, and it was just more just making sure I don't go, because I haven't been diagnosed with full blown PTSD or anything like that. I've got other issues to to really physical ones mostly, but obviously rather than being a track coach, I did all kinds of different coaching, starting with sports and track and things like community, with the firefighters and things like that. I just wanted to help people. Then I got into personal development, which I did anyway, to kind of beat back some of the bullying and learn about developing forward.
Right.
And meditation, I'm on a meditation app now, and I'm more of a life coach. I took up life coaching and carried it on after the
Beautiful.
fire service. Yeah. So this is what led me on because I saw, some of the work you're doing around meditation and getting
Hmm.
over these things and overcoming obstacles, which I've done in my life as well as other things in my book, Firefighting from Within. And talking about books, I'd like to lead on to your book and what led you to that book and what's in your book.
Ah. Well,
I mean, the only guess I can have what led you to it is the orange blossom that you went to when for Sanctuary. So let's uh,
exactly,
let's start
exactly.
with well.
So, what I did was just to show that I just to show others because it's part of its education. A lot of people don't know about PTSD or how it
Mm,
comes back, or
yeah, yeah.
um, I always felt that it was my word against his word. And my dad, being a true pedophile, stopped abusing me at 10 because I went through puberty. So then I became a human to him. So my
Mm,
life kind of formed and changed, and I was able to have this long journey of healing. But where I'm going with this is that under the Orange Blossom's perspective of a 16-year-old girl, what she experienced. And I do protect my readers in that I don't overshare because I don't want to traumatize somebody.
mm,
But through this is what I'm showing is how I went through the journey of healing, the things that I found in my life. I challenged myself to constantly heal and find um, being better, trying to be my best self, and showing examples of what that was like without resources. And a lot of it was, like you said, meditation. They're all things that I've done, but they've materialized and they've become a lot more sophisticated. I've had lots of different therapies, lots of alternative things. And so I just share what are the things that I went to and um, how I healed, and healing modalities that I've bumped into, alternative, and then also typical. And then also letting people know that, if you have a therapist and they don't resonate with you, or if you've been going to the same therapist for like 30 years, you might want to try something else, because there's different ways of obtaining new
mm,
information, and
yeah.
that you have control of, like saying, hey, this is not really working for me, I want to try
Mm,
something else,
yeah.
because you are in control
Absolutely.
of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
I
basically,
mean, having support there and a support network and group of people you trust and feel comfortable being around, is great. That's a good thing to have. Um, but
yeah.
you
I
don't want
think
to.
oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. You don't want to suffer in silence. But some people are, and they can't do that even sometimes, can they?
Right. And I think if you've been through a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, you find the world very scary, and you don't trust. So you don't trust a lot of people, and you're not sure who to go to. And betrayal seems to be the one that, because it happened so early, like, who do you trust? Like, if your parents had betrayed you, who do you find that would stick by your side all the time? And sometimes you are your best person to guide you through that. And I think you really have to challenge yourself and listen to yourself on
Hmm.
what is accurate for you, and trusting that
It's where
true
mindfulness can
your
come into
guide.
it as
Yeah.
well. Mindfulness and
Mindfulness, exactly.
yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of people probably find all these things a bit freaky deaky, but once you get into it, and I mean, I'm someone who could sit quiet and just really have some thoughts with myself. I've always been like that. And then I've channeled it and found a, a label for it, if you like, but it is meditation, and it comes easy to me, but some people can't do that, and they just got to understand it. And,
Right.
it's on the app that I'm on. It doesn't matter what app you go to, whether it's your book you read or whatever, and you find out it saves you when you find out about these things, where you can regroup within yourself first and listen to
Hmm.
yourself and, things like that. That's
Yeah.
great. So, to tell us, so you thought what you thought of the title Orange Blossom for your book,
Right.
and then what was the process of the idea of writing it, and you know,
Well, I
just
have to say,
to inspire everyone,
it
really.
inspired me. My goal is to help somebody and just let them know that they're not alone through their suffering, and any kind of suffering. We're not alone.
Mm,
There's a lot of people who just it's not conversation worthy when you're going to a cocktail party. We're not going to talk about what we've gone through in life.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so
no,
we
of course
really
not. No.
just don't know. You don't know your neighbor. You really don't know. And we've all suffered. And so that was
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of Um, my intent was that we all go through things and we all have challenges, and that we're not alone, and that we can be part of society and find healing. And I just wanted to know that someone was going to make it through and be successful. I went to a conference one time, and it happened to be on sexual abuse, which I didn't want to go. And he said, if you know, it was a doctor, and he said, if you know anybody who has suffered sexual abuse or knows of somebody who has suffered sexual abuse, please stand up. And that room was over 1,000 people, and they all stood up.
Whoa.
And I was still in hiding. And I sat down, and then I was like, eek, okay, maybe I'll stand up. And I have to tell you, it blew me away. And that's when I thought, okay, I really need to step up and start talking about this. Is thousands of people that need to know that they're not alone and that they can heal and have healthy relationships. It's work, but it's your worth, being the best person who you can be.
Yeah,
For your
absolutely.
children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so you're an event planner now then. So you're an author as well, though. You're an author, your entrepreneur side of you is doing the event planning. But you also speak. Your speaking is about the book with the book, or is it more around your work, is it?
More around the work, like more
Okay.
around trauma.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't talk about trauma, because when you talk about trauma, you go into depth. I mean, first of all, we don't want to remember what bad things happen to
No, no,
us or
no.
what
Yeah.
tragic things happen to us.
Yeah.
We've already talked about it with somebody else, and then they have a place for it. And
Yes.
so I think going back in there and going back into the parts of your mind where you kind of go, okay, this is sitting there and this is keeping me very safe and I'm very happy, to pull those back out and talk about that. It's uncomfortable. And so you kind of almost have to challenge yourself, if you choose to go back there, to go in for further healing. And I remember when it came to writing about my book, to go back in and to write it, first of all, was incredibly difficult. And then to go back in and figure out where the pain in my body was. And then I started having flashbacks, and I thought, what am I doing this for? And I kept on reminding myself, I'm doing this so that others could speak up,
Mm.
as I have to. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
trying to find, there's empowerment in finding a place in that. And we all need empowerment. Because I really truly believe that whoever created this trauma in you, you're giving that power to somebody else. So
Mm.
it's a hard thing to do, but you're harnessing back your own power. And by writing it down, saying it, if that's comfortable for you, but even writing it down for yourself, that's harnessing and taking back your power. And you shouldn't hold any shame. It's really your abuser who should be holding shame, not you.
Mm.
And when you don't have a cord or a connection to that grief or that pain anymore, that's the freedom that we all seek. It's just letting go, and you know that you're in that space that you have let go entirely, when there is no emotional cord there. You could talk about it freely.
Mm. No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's really been a great pleasure for you to come and share your story like that. It's actually a brave thing for a lot of people, and it was brave for me to to actually relate to some of it as well with you. So, there's
I
quite
respect
a
it.
couple of things I picked out that you said. I thought, oh, that's me. Oh, yeah, that's me as well. And a lot of people, that's why you did it. That's why you're doing this, is because you help to help other people say, oh, I know. Yeah, like a Me Too campaign for you, isn't it? That kind of thing, isn't it? Really, or
Yeah,
maybe not. I
no,
don't know.
me
Just to
too.
help people.
She has totally inspired me. When she came out, I was like, oh, good for her. And
Mm,
but it's I guess it's similar, but
mm.
I think there's a lot. I felt like when I was listening to that, I was like, okay, this is not just Hollywood. This happens to the average Joe,
Normal
the average
person.
person.
Yeah.
This is not just Hollywood. And I think that's kind of, and if we can't make changes, and if we can't find normalcy in having conversations about sexual abuse, and if they're not going to be as common, then we can never get over the taboo, that it's a taboo subject. We have to move past that in order to create conversation. And I think that's my place. I'm just trying to find places for people to feel like, yeah, this happened and let's talk about it, because I don't have a solution to solving these problems, but maybe somebody who I bump into and collaborate, they may have the solutions.
Yes, no, absolutely. No, it's fantastic work. Great what you're doing. And as I say, in a similar way, I'm doing it with my podcast. And then obviously I offer some coaching as part of that, because it's part of the monetization. But not even that. I just offer it anyway on the app that I'm on. It's all free. Oh, well, actually, I think they pay a subscription on it. But even so, I mean, this is free, free service, the podcast, But obviously I offer some books and things like that, just as all, I've got to kind of, like, if you've got a blog, I don't know if you monetize it. I don't know.
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'd love to have people reach out to me. That's where I write, where I share a lot of my stories and other people's stories. If they are willing to share with me, I would be so willing. I'd be honored to have shared their story on there.
Can you tell my listeners, and well, your listeners now, hopefully, or viewers on your blog, where they can find you and the book and everything else about you?
Okay, it's www.cindy talks.com. And please reach out to me. I love to hear from anybody, even if you haven't been abused. I just love to hear from you.
Yeah, wow.
We all matter.
Yeah. Well, one more thing I have to share a little bit in common with is that I don't know if you get these comments. It's a nice comment, really. But people tell me I'm actually 58 years old, but people tell me I'll still look 35, 40. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it that you said you was 60. Obviously, you didn't have to reveal your age. I thought you was about 35 as well, 35, 40.
Oh, bless you.
When I first joined the fire service, people thought I was still in high school. They said, "Well, was you still in school when you joined?" It's like it's amazing, really. But still, it's good that we can, have genes like that. And obviously, there's other things we're doing that's keeping us looking well. So it's good. That's a good compliment. I'm sure you get these compliments, Cindy. You're playing it down, I know.
You're so sweet, so kind. No, I think it's being kind at heart. And when you've gone through trauma, I think you also find that your life matters so much that you have to take care of your mind
Self-care.
And your body.
Yes, yeah. As hard as it can be, even for myself, sometimes I find it hard, either with a busy lifestyle or that I am going through some tough times myself or difficult things. It does come in. It comes in, numbers sometimes, and I'm thinking, oh, I've got a lot to deal with here. Although I know some of the coping strategies that I know myself, but we're all human.
Right.
But yeah, self-care and everything else, we've got to look at that and not take it lightly, or for some people as a freaky deaky word, that during a pandemic was repeated so many times to people. That must have been a tough time as well for people. I don't know about you, but pandemic, your business must have gone low a bit.
You have to recreate yourself, constantly challenge yourself. And
well, pivoting was the word, wasn't it? But for you, it wasn't, because you carried on.
Pivot. Yeah, exactly. I love that word.
Yeah. Well, Cindy, we're going to run out of time soon, but sorry about rushing you like that. It's been really, it's been a real great pleasure having you on. I'm sure I'll have you on again with various topics. We had a good conversation and obviously a good chemistry within us. So we're talking about things that we could share. So that's great, and our audience will love this. So once again, thanks very much for coming to share with my audience today.
Pleasure. Really lovely talking to you.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.